Welcome to Brainstorm MTG. I'm ELD, and this is Fast Effect, double speed Magic the Gathering. Here we've got Storm versus Dylan on Maverick. So I am piloting a Storm list, actually using a new custom playmat from Old Gods. It's my new accessory line. That is leather and custom engraved to have the mana and storm count across the top. Hopefully that'll make it clear as we're playing here. Already Storm 1 off of Gitaxian Probe. Seeing a handful of cards that are not going to interact particularly well with Storm. We've got a Deathrite Shaman, which did not get cast on turn 1, leaving up a green mana to cycle Tranquil Thicket. And we've got double Dark Ritual into LED, already Storm 4 and 5 mana. And tracking for red means we've got 6 mana left after paying for the tutor. Now down to 2 for Past in Flames, Storm 7. Oh, Storm 6, okay. 2 more Dark Rituals should push it to 6 mana, Storm 8. Infernal down to 4 black. Still hellbent thanks to the LED. That's going to grab the tendrils. A Gitaxian Probe for good measure is going to pump it up to Storm 11. And there's the tendrils for 22 on the first turn. And that is what you want to do against a deck like Maverick. They don't have much in the way to say about those openings. Really, the best opening Maverick can have game 1 is Deathrite Shaman and hope to interact with that graveyard. But that would have been just too slow, even being on the play. Usually Maverick's best chance is being on the play, having a Deathrite Shaman, being able to prevent exactly that type of opening. If he had an active Deathrite, he would have been able to eat that Infernal Tutor in response to the Past in Flames, and that would have completely stopped that line. We would have played a bit of draw go until I'd find a way to be able to make it through Deathrite Shaman. Of course, that is possible with a bunch of extra mana and extra tutors, so basically would have needed to draw into cantrips, but you're not always in control of that, so that's really the best that Maverick can hope for. Now, game 2, he's presumably going to have access to more problem cards. The longer the game goes, of course, Maverick's chances do improve. There are cards like Gaddock Teague, sometimes Thalia, just really no shortage of hate bears that you can choose from when you're in green, white, black. Most of the best ones are white or contain white, which does potentially make them a problem versus a card like Massacre, though notably Gaddock Teague does shut off Massacre as it costs 4 mana. Massacre, for those unfamiliar, is a bit of sideboard dedicated hate for Storm, costs 4 and gives all creatures -2/-2, and it's free as long as you control a plains, as long as you control a swamp and your opponent controls a plain. So really the best kind of sweeper available versus the white cards. Of course, it is possible for them to potentially play around the alternate casting cost with cards like Cavern of Souls. But, you know, there's no perfect answers in Magic. All right, so Dylan on the play again here. Going to see if he can get a stronger opening. Taking a look through. And going to need to mull here. Looks like a Leyline of the Void in his hand, so he's going to have some interaction. That's going to stop Past in Flames. Going to considerably hinder the Cabal Ritual, one of the strongest card in the deck. Right, so Leyline. Rove into Deathrite Shaman, and a Chalice at 0. So that's going to stop LED and Lotus Petal. So the puzzle has been set. Currently need to find a way to win without those artifact accelerants or Leyline. And Silent Gravestone coming by, so no graveyards for either players in effect. Silent Gravestone going to stop that Deathrite Shaman from activating. Now, if he's running Knight of the Reliquary, then he will actually still have a graveyard, just won't be able to target it. Oh, and Thalia. So now things are very bad. This is a reasonable clock here, doing 3 damage a turn with a Sphere effect, a Chalice, and a Leyline of the Void. This is a lot of hate to play through right now. Now, Scrubland is down on the board, so Massacre would be really strong were I playing it. Fortunately, I was testing out some very weak tech, running Bantu's Last Reckoning in place of Massacre. It was absolutely abysmal. See if it's actually been brought in here or if I draw into it. Bantu's Last Reckoning would cost 4 mana here, which is so much more than the 1 mana that Massacre would cost. I would venture a guess to say roughly 4 times as much mana. Got a 3 mana Knight of the Reliquary. So the clock is continuing to accelerate. It looks like Bantu's Last Reckoning is actually in hand. So we're going to need to find a couple of lands very quickly. Ritual's not going to do a whole lot. A Dark Ritual will add 1 additional mana. A Cabal Ritual will add 0 mana. It will cost 3 to generate 3. And Scavenging Ooze as well. Massacre would be quite nice right now. Wouldn't quite get rid of that Knight of the Reliquary, though. That is it. Bantu's Last Reckoning stranded in hand. Thalia too much. Dylan taking down game 2. Storm will be on the play here for game 3. Happy to be on the play. Not usually too thrilled dropping games to Maverick. It can happen. That may be a sign of a poorly constructed sideboard there. Was a lot of hate, but by no means insurmountable. Storm, the type of deck that can do incredible things when played well. Beaten things like first turn Trinisphere, first turn Blood Moon and Chalice. I mean, the deck is extremely powerful. People are trying to beat it with onboard hate. They do have to have exactly the right type of hate. Stop the acceleration and lines that you're able to take. Empty the Warrens. Such a powerful way to bail halfway through that count to 10. I mean, you don't always have to get to 10 for a Tendrils. Sometimes you can just stop with that empty and have a really large board full of goblins. And a pair of Chalices, along with Dark Confidant, Scavenging Ooze. Man, it would be nice to be able to therapy that away, but that is not in the cards. Keeping off of Ponder. Got a Chalice. There's Fatal Push drawn for turn, so Dylan has a couple of creatures in hand. See what he does with Chalice here. Brainstorm plus Fetch. Sees a couple of Lotus Petals. Those get shuffled away. Now it's worth noting that sometimes it is correct to hold on to cards like Lotus Petal and LED when Chalice at 0 is on the board, just because they can be played out of the hand. Now Dylan is really punished here, having Mox Diamond in hand. So he's unable to cast Chalice at 1. That Mox Diamond is going to be dead for the rest of the game. And a bunch of cantripping here. Fields are largely down. Dylan drawing quite poorly here. It is dangerous to hold on to a card like Fatal Push in this situation, as I cannot get it out of my hand. Even if I have LED, I'm not going to be able to resolve an LED through that Chalice. This is far from ideal. Infernal getting Dark Ritual, another Infernal getting another Dark Ritual. At this point, I think it's clear to say that this has been mismanaged. Tranquil Thicket coming down. Got Fatal Pushes in hand instead of those Lotus Petals. This is actually pretty terrible. And Chalice at 1 coming down. So kind of an autopilot error there. Trying to keep the cards that were the most live in hand. Now we have Scavenging Ooze and Dark Confidant. Fatal Push, which is going to get countered. Couple of solid bears here, generating card advantage for Dylan, as well as cutting off the graveyard as a resource. Liliana coming down. She ticks up, getting rid of that other Fatal Push, which was actually somewhat welcome here. Ataxian Probe just being cast. Ponder discarded. The Lily. Just about a wrap here. Very unlikely anything's going to get out of this situation here. Dark Rituals just being shown for kicks here. And that is it. So some operator error there for Storm. There is no easier matchup in Magic than a Storm player who plays badly right there. Dylan taking it down with Chalice, Leyline, some bears. Sometimes that's all it takes. That's all for this one. If you enjoyed the video, please help grow the channel by subscribing. You'll be notified when we upload new videos like Fast Effect, Double Speed Magic with commentary, or Untapped, our raw tournament gameplay. Thanks for watching.